making sure that you're in the right bucket or the right mix, or the right portfolio, if you will, and staying invested in that, and then adjusting it and rebalancing it on a regular basis, and adjusting that to your goals. If you become more aggressive, more conservative, whatever it might be, is still the best way with a globally diversified portfolio.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Let's talk about some universal truths when it comes to financial matters. There are certain retirement planning principles that apply to everybody, regardless of who they are, how much money they have, when they're retiring, or where they live. And we talk about this a lot on this show. Everybody needs an income plan. After you retire, it's all about those income streams coming in.
True. And, for most people, the only income stream they have is Social Security. So, what's the best way to take it? We have software that we use in our planning process where we can actually show you the different ways of taking it because, you can take it early, you can take it at full retirement age, you can take it at 70 when it maxes out. What's the best way to take it? There are some factors involved, so it just depends on what your situation is, life expectancy, where you are, how much you're going to get, et cetera, et cetera. If you have other assets you can draw from. But having an income plan is certainly important. If you're lucky enough and one of the few people to have a pension, that's great. But we don't see those as much. I do have some clients that have them, but we don't see them as much as we used to see them. So it's understanding how you're going to create an income, how you can live off your assets that you've saved while you are working to maintain your lifestyle and do all the things that you want to do in retirement. So it's looking at those things in combination with maybe just Social Security to figure out where that income is going to come from, as well as an income that's going to sustain and keep growing because of the fact that you have to worry about inflation, which we now see this year, of course.
We find ourselves having to talk about a very unpleasant topic, and people don't even like to think about this, much less talk about it. Everybody needs some kind of a plan to address long-term care issues, and that's something that's going to affect the majority of us.
It is. I mean, they say, 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3 are going to spend some amount of time in a nursing home, and I know I get it a lot from people. I'm never going to go into a nursing home. And, unfortunately, I understand that, but the truth is people do. And I think I've mentioned this before. It's near and dear to my heart. My mother has been in a nursing home for going on 2.5 years now with late stage Alzheimer's, and it's a horrible disease. And we swore we'd never put her in a nursing home. My dad swore, but it gets to a point where there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's the only option you have. So again, it's understanding how you can address this, and, self-insuring or pay for it out of your own money is certainly an option if you have the money saved for it, and making that decision is okay as long as you understand the other situations. There's traditional long-term care insurance, and then there's some using life insurance that has long-term care riders, which in my opinion is probably a better way of doing it. And that's what we seem to be using in our practice more so, as far as looking at that option, because it's a good way of leveraging the amount of money that you have in case you do need long-term care. However, if you don't need long-term care, that money can be paid out in other options as well. So it's not use it or lose it like we see with traditional long-term care. So it's just understanding your options is really what it's about, educating you, and then you can make an informed decision on what's going to work best for you and your family.
Either way, long-term care is a very expensive proposition these days, so you definitely need to have a plan for it. You're listening to Saving with Silverman with Mark Silverman. 520-333-7601 is the number to call. 520-333-7601. If you'd rather text, of course, that's fine too. We're talking about certain universal truths, and nobody can consistently time the stock market successfully. Mark, I can't even recall how many times I've heard you say that.
It's impossible. I mean, if you look, even these active mutual fund managers beating the indices, the S&P 500 or whatever it might be, is almost impossible. They might do it a year here or there, but to do it consistently, it just doesn't happen. So, there are some people that claim they got out of the market in before the crash in '08. If you look at some of those people, they got out in like '06, '07, so they even missed part of the upside, so they've been sitting out, and some of those people still haven't gotten back in, or if they have, they haven't got back in fully. So the only way, as I say, and this is one of the things I like to say, is investments work, investors don't. So, the best study that I've seen shows that if you look at what the average stock mutual fund has done, versus what the average stock mutual fund investor has done, it's like less than half of that. The reason is timing. You can't time the market. So the only way the markets work is if you stay invested, because you can't time when to get in and get out consistently. It just does not work. So making sure that you're in the right bucket or the right mix, or the right portfolio, if you will, and staying invested in that, and then adjusting it and rebalancing it on a regular basis and adjusting that to your goals if you become more aggressive, more conservative, whatever it might be, is still the best way with a globally diversified portfolio.
Over the course of time, we've talked about longevity so many times, and these days, of course, people are living so much longer, but you really don't know how long you're going to live, and it's necessary to prepare for all the different scenarios.
That's true. That's true. So, understanding, there's so many moving pieces as far as your financial life goes. It's not just your investments. And unfortunately, many people in our industry just focus on the investments. Some people like to solve the solution with just selling you an annuity. And there's plenty of those people on the radio that you can do that with. And on full disclosure, I'm insurance licensed too, so I'm familiar with those products. And then there's certain people that'll just look at your investments and say, instead of buying these mutual funds, buy these mutual funds. There's more to it than that. And that's why it's important to work with somebody that's comprehensive, holistic, preferably a certified financial planner professional such as myself that knows about estate planning, tax planning, insurance, investments, legacy planning, education planning, charitable gifting, all these different components that go along with your financial life, because if you make decisions on one, it impacts the other. So it's important to have somebody that's well-rounded that understands all these different components that can give you advice that's in your best interest without being sold a product or a service.
You can get a complimentary 20-minute introductory call with Mark Silverman to talk about all of these things, to kind of get to know him a bit. He can get to know you. And I'm going to give out the number here in just a moment here. But Mark, is there anything that folks need to prepare before they talk to you for the first time?
No, it really is just, the hardest step for some people is just reaching out. I've had people that have reached out and said, I've heard you for years. Some have heard me for the first time, whatever it might be. I know it's a timing thing, but just reaching out. Like I said, you're not going to get a hold of somebody live when you call. It's a recording. You leave your information or you text, and we'll reach back out to you, and you'll speak to Christine, who works with me. She will get you on my calendar for this 15 to 20 minute introductory call that Ron had mentioned. And if you have some specific questions you want to write down, that's fine. If you just have some, get an idea as far as what we do, how we do it, that's fine too. But it's just a first step in talking to determine if we're going to be a good fit or not. And if we are, then we can talk about what's next and what's involved. But there's no cost, there's no obligation. It's simply just an opportunity to speak with me. If anything I've said makes sense or resonates with you, that's what it's about.
You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601. Or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.